Make a motion, second, 7 second. All in favor? All right. At this point, 7 days on late, so we didn't do the pledge of allegiance. So if everyone stands for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Church is already done
Well, we already had a call for executive session, so
we've not started now, first item on the agenda this evening is our communication committee report. Mr. Peters. There you go. Good evening, Mr. Peters.
Good evening. Very excited to share some updates on our district strategic plan for communications for the fall part of this school year. This plan aims to streamline our communications across the district, enhance accessibility, and better engage with our school community. Let's dive into the progress that our committee has made over the course of these last few months. Just as a reminder here, our communication efforts are guided by 2 key principles: updating and streamlining communication methods at the school and district levels, driven by survey feedback and research into best practices; integrating a proactive media communications program to highlight our district's goals, challenges, and most importantly, our accomplishments. And these goals ensure that we're not only communicating effectively, but also celebrating the fantastic work that is happening here within our school district. The first area that I want to throw out here is our significant achievements with Class Dojo. When we initially met with you, from the initial work here within our communications committee, Class Dojo was something that we had really looked at, and that was based upon the feedback that we received from our initial survey. We were fortunate that Mary F. Jambier School had already instilled some excellent practices for Class Dojo. And with it being our primary school, the parents, as they came into our district, were quite accustomed to it. They were used to it. So our committee felt that it was only natural that we continue utilizing this platform at both Main Road and also at the Ritter School. And over the past year, we've been able to connect 100% of our classroom teachers on the Class Dojo. So they are all utilizing it, and they're utilizing it with communicating with parents and guardians across the district. As a building principal, we also use it in order to share school-wide events, school-wide occurrences that are going on within our schools. We've seen a tremendous amount of parents increasing their usage here with Class Dojo. Our last statistics show that almost 97% of parents and guardians have joined their child's respective classrooms, so each teacher can create a classroom on Class Dojo, which enables seamless communication about classroom and also school-level updates. This past October, so our October figures, and I also looked at November and December, and it remained consistent. We had a little over 1,600 active parents. And you can see it's more than the students we have enrolled in our district. In the upper grade levels, students are even using Class Dojo to share their learning progress directly with families. Students use the dojo to communicate with families about their academics, their learning progress through the dojo portfolio application. And some of these classrooms also use dojo as a behavioral management tool. This platform has become a cornerstone of our efforts to keep families informed and engaged. And just looking through some monthly statistics that we were able to receive, just in December alone, our district's educators across all 3 schools sent over 6,100 messages to families. And we received almost that amount messages back from families to our teachers across the district. So just by that number alone, you can see how much the families have become involved with dojo and really how much communication back and forth is occurring. The last time we had a an update. We had talked about the updated website, so our new website that was created. And it's well beyond just the new website. The new website, which we use an app called ThrillShare, that's really the cornerstone behind what our capabilities are. It's ADA compliant. It can go ahead and translate messages. I can type in English, can translate to so many different languages. And we've seen the translation across multiple languages just within the use of our website. It also is quite efficient. It allows anybody with user access to very easily host, not just to our district website, but to be able to post directly to social media, which has allowed us to have an increase in our social media presence. We all know how many parents and community members are flipping through on social media in order to get an impression about our district. And it also, even more importantly, allows us to put out push notifications, just in case there is an emergency. We're not delaying in order to get that important information out to parents and also to the community. So with this new website that Ms. Graff had communicated with all of you about, it has allowed the integration of all platforms, as I mentioned, social media, mobile apps, alerts, and push notifications to all come from one central location. It also looks aesthetically quite nice as well. It allows for a user-friendly navigation and also refreshed content through the Google Analytical data. It's ADA compliant and allows for automatic translation into home languages. Now, it's very easy for somebody who speaks another language or reads another language to go ahead and translate. There are time-saving tools for families and staff alike. I personally find the site quite easier, much more friendly to use when posting content, which I'm sure you probably see on our social media and district websites accounts. Just to show you some information here, we have gone up by over 2,000 users from the minute we got to this new website. So from comparing the amount of users from while using a mobile device, so this is a mobile-friendly website, automatically transitions and becomes mobile-friendly when looking at it from a phone. There's been an increase of over 2,000 users from the old site to this new site. And we've also seen an increase of about 1,000 users just on a desktop application. So we've seen those increases. Just to give you a figure about the translation, there's been over 200 active users that have been translating this in Spanish since the time we started the website. We did a soft rollout of the website in May, a full route rollout really over the course of the summer. So it really hasn't been that long since we've actually had this out. And you can see the impact that it's already provided to all of our community members. So I mentioned the ease with social media. This really blew it out of the water when I took a look at this data. So Mrs. Graff, who is the co-chair of the committee here along with myself, she provides me this information. She is also our district instructional technology coach. And she gave me the statistics here on Facebook reach. So this is how many times people are either scrolling through and pause or actually click and look at our articles. Okay? We can't decipher the difference between the two of them. But somebody's looking at what we're putting out there. As I mentioned, May is when we did our soft rollout of this new website. And it's not the new website. It's the ability for people at the building level to go ahead and start posting to Facebook. An easier ability to post to Facebook and also to Twitter. If you take a look, April of 23, we had, April of 24, we had a little over 4,100 within the reach time. That increased to over 14,000 just within that first month. And we've been pretty steady since then. You know, over the course of the summer, sometimes we see that drop off, especially there in June, depending on how long the school year goes. And we're there at over 12,000, 13,000. Even in December, when we're historically at a slower time, everybody's obviously busy with the holidays. The previous year, we had 59 within our reach for Facebook. Now, it was our lowest at 3,000 but it's still over a 5,000% increase. Our increase, just with Facebook alone, sharing the positive of our district and what goes on in our schools and our classrooms each day, has tremendously increased. That's what we were looking at with this. And also the ability for parents to be able to read it in the language that they utilize. Just some other efforts that I have here. Each week we put out a weekly communication from the school level. We utilize an online program called SMORE. It's quite user-friendly for us with formulating our newsletter. Makes it look a little bit more official. But with SMORE, it also gives us statistics. So when we take a look at that, the median viewing that we look at over the course of the past year, you can see we have a tremendous number of views. Two of the schools in particular have more views than students even enrolled. So that's the median view for each of our schools. So just another way that we're going ahead and communicating with all of our families and also the community about what we're doing. We're not finished. We're constantly reviewing, refining, and seeing how we can continuously improve our communication efforts. By doing this, we're going to enhance our emergency communication methods for family and communities. We're going to continue to look at how we can constantly improve upon that, making sure that our messages are efficient and timely and provide the necessary information in case there is an emergency. Strengthening internal communication with faculty and staff, that is always an ongoing goal for us, making sure that communication from central administration, building level administration, all the way through the individual teacher and staff member. Everybody knows what's going on, and there's communication there. That is something that we continuously bring up, address, and assess in our school leadership committee meetings and also at our district leadership committee meetings. And those two entities themselves are part of our streamline of communications. We're going to ensure that we have consistent classroom level updates about instructional content and also about the students' achievements. And then we also have a collaboration, especially with Mr. Morris here, as a member of both the Township's Communication Committee, but he's also a member of our Communications Committee. So Mr. Morris and I have continuous conversations about how we can post good things about our district, different events up on the Township's communication channels. So that is going to be a work in progress. We've made some great strides with improving communications across our district. Our focus remains on building a connected and informed school community. And on behalf of our committee, we would like to thank you for your support and feedback as we continue with these efforts. Any questions? Yeah. I hope you recognize that and see that online as well. Yeah. Good. There you go. Yeah.
Next item on our agenda is resolution, school board recognition month, New Jersey. Regarding the rest of the board, just go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution as listed. Reading the
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next item is our first public comment section for agenda item amendment. With that, I make a motion to move to public to a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Anyone from the public to address the board at this time? Any items listed on the agenda? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public to a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is a nomination for a candidate to fill the unexpired term left Mrs. Michael that resigned. So with that, I make a motion All in favor? All right. The floor is open for nominations. Is there anyone who would like to nominate anyone at this time?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Mark Lee.
Is there a second on that? Nomination is second. Are there any other nominations for the veterans board seat?
I'd like to nominate Kevin Haynes.
Nomination for Kevin Haynes. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no further nominations, I will make a motion to close the nominations. I have a second. All in favor? All right. Mr. Kaczynski, be roll call vote, I guess, indicated by voice.
Yeah,
So,
and just for reminders, this is an executive session interview. You have the interviews for your vote. Explain why you're voting.
Treasurer, you go ahead and call the roll. Does everybody understand the procedure following? So when your name is called, indicate any other, obviously, an extension or your support for either candidate is not. Sorry,
Member Brown.
I should explain why. Okay, so I nominated Kevin Haynes due to his military background and his involvement with the CA. Bring a different view to the board.
Cunningham.
I nominated Laura Lee for a myriad of reasons. Some of them being that she has been a board member for many years, not just a board member, but an active board member, who's brought a lot to the table when we've had discussions and conversations. The board is going to have to deal with some very unique topics in the next year, whether it be regionalization, which Mrs. Schengelini has gone through, or choosing a new superintendent, which Mrs. Schengelini has also gone through the process. I feel those two alone stand as very good reasons to have someone on the board who has gone through those, for those of us who haven't, or who may be very new to the board and just the processes of what the board does. She did receive over 3,600 votes when she was on the ballot. I appreciate Mr. Haynes coming out for the write-in and hope that he will put his name on the ballot in the future. But over the years, we've had various links for write-ins and people putting their names in, which is great. But ultimately, we need people who are going to submit their names to the ballot so that they're chosen. And Mrs. Schengelini has done that year after year. So I nominate her for her.
Doyle.
Schengelini, due to her past experience and the comments she made during her interview, I fully agree with her. A lot of times Barb is the odd thought. She's not where everybody is leaning. I like conversation. I like understanding other people's perspectives. And she's not afraid to do that.
Fregoso.
I also, I'm voting for Laura Lee for all the reasons already stated, but in addition, just her commitment. Every meeting she's here, she participates in every meeting, and her passion for this community and this school district just stands out, and she's really the best fit for this opening.
Wilson.
Well, I don't think my good question. This was not an easy task. Anyway, I go with names. I like the fact that the children being present and his involvement with children is very
commitment, obviously, to be there, clean, and, relative.
Clark?
I came here tonight and left my sick child to support Mrs. Shanklin because I thought it was that important. And I hope this doesn't fall on deaf ears because I'm disappointed in several members of this table. But Mrs. Shanklin has more than 20 years of experience serving on this board. Many of those years as a board president. She is by far the best board member that has ever been seated at these tables with. In fact, I know a lot of the fact that I was able to become versed as the board president and the board member that I find myself to be today because of her guidance and her leadership. She's gone to every convention. She's continually learning. She's always the one that's on extra committees. And she spent 2 years working on the regionalization and urban consolidation that has been proposed by Delcy. And while I appreciate what new views can look like, I think it's irresponsible not to take someone who's involved in so much that would steal our base. So I support this position.
Fred?
My vote is for Mr. Haynes. That's not to say that I have any feelings for Mr. Champlain at all. I've heard every statement that's been made about her, specifically the one that's been made and acknowledging her long-time service to the board and her commitment. She certainly has the qualifications to do the job. I would never dispute that. However, I know he's appointed Mr. Champlain to the board previously, and she has run in several elections, and just recently had an election in which she was unfortunately re-elected to the board. So I feel it's kind of a disservice to the voters of Franklin Township if we were to make a reappointment of someone who was unsuccessful in this recent election. So therefore, I'm voting for Mr. Haynes, along with his credentials. I think he'll bring you to the board and be an asset to that's my vote. Hearing the vote out here, years ago, we had a split vote. Understanding, consulting the legal counsel in the case of the split vote. That decision will be determined by the county superintendent.
Yeah, your options are continue to vote for the other majority. That's up to the board for, you have 65 days from the date the position can be vacant, fill it by the county. But it's not going to fill it as part of this election process, this selection process. The county board has that law.
Are we really going to go to the county with somebody who's been on this board with 20 years of experience and look like a fool that we can put somebody on this board? I mean, let's put all of our personal feelings aside, be adults, and do what's right for this board.
And Jason, in response to what you said, she got 3,000 votes.
36. Overtime.
So
In position 4 on a presidential election,
position 4, right?
the last presidential election, I also lost because I was not in the first, second, or third position. And you know yourself, everybody does 1, 2, 3.
She has to give you support.
I think we need to be responsible and move past our feelings and they don't vote again. I make a motion to make another move.
Second.
I don't know if
Some-
any
some of us did.
deliberations change the vote and reverse. If you prefer to vote again, you can make that motion, have that vote, and I'll do it at the end of the
I'm
night.
not on that line for the sake of the good of this board as its leader to send this to the county.
We have a split vote in the were based on some of the tax membership, so let's call for a vote.
I already
Vote.
Second, we have a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can we just give the name and not reason?
We made the motion and we had a second, so now we need to follow up on that. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yes. Brown.
I know how much commitment, dedication he has to his children and his community, and I do feel like he'd be an asset from a different standpoint that we built from on the board. So my vote still remains.
Franklin?
So I was generally, and a lot of the comments in regards to different perspectives, I don't even know if some people are aware of what perspective we need to, you should have being on board.
Doyle?
Schengler.
Regoso?
Chang-Laney.
Wilson?
Shane
Smith? Star? Gray?
Guess the board's voting, Mr. Shanklin. I'd like to repeat what I said previously, which is I never doubted your commitment or your ability to, serve. I don't have any questions. With that, I'll vote for, Mr. Shanklin.
Motion carries. Mrs. Chamberlain is nominated to the board of health vacancy.
Thank you to the fellow board members.
Yeah. Mary, I just want to say thank you for really thinking about what you did and for doing what you think now was best for the board of health.
There's always a good come.
I know, but it's really appreciated,
Yes.
not personal.
All right, moving on. Report, school president report, school board president report. I have two things I wanted to discuss with the board. The first was you all got an email from Mrs. Miller. She's the board president at Pittman. We had a brief discussion about it in executive session. I did reach out to her and let her know that, I bring her email up in discussion at our meeting if anyone would like to attend the meeting regarding the state aid issues facing Gloucester County. That's on the 27th. It's in Pittman. Mr. Smith has indicated that he's going to attend the meeting. If I'm available, I will also attend the meeting. And for any members of the public, which would be interested in a discussion regarding state aid formulation, how they affect Gloucester County in general, that meeting is at 7 o'clock, correct?
Yep.
I thought she.
Yeah, it was just a general, it wasn't from, it was a general
okay.
email that came through from.
Yeah, Mrs. Miller, the president of the Senate board, indicated it was sent to all board members, so I assume it didn't come from him.
Okay.
But we can forward it. I'll forward it.
That's fine. We're just making sure either one of us got it.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was
It was
restricted.
sent on January 12th.
I mean, one person that's specific in the public that was addressing Mr. Shanklin.
Can't send it now, so.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're right, you did. It's just me and Jason.
Blind,
And I'm a blind copy.
You got it, right? Yeah.
Well, maybe she went through and did, yeah.
That's fine.
Well, anyway, I'll look forward to it.
That's fine, yeah, that's
Yeah. And then the second item was, and I had sent this to Alicia originally, and then I did send it to Mr. Pass, who would turn forward this to Mr. Dolan. One of our constituents was reached out to me, and make sure it was correct. Is it Gloucester County? You remember? Gloucester County.
Senior Culture Time?
First week.
Yeah, they're 3+1. So you can attend RCSA for 3 years.
Yeah, I know they have all that stuff.
So basically, it's
Different programs. But long story short, they have this internship program, which looked very interesting. And like I said, one of our residents here that reached out with told us participating in the program now, going through to get her degree in early education. And he's the one that brought us with the board's permission. I mean, obviously, trying to represent to Mrs. Dolan, with the board's permission, really to continue to look into that and allow them to explore that opportunity. Did you have a piece with it other than what I sent you for that? So that's all I have on my president report. Mr. Chet's superintendent report.
Brent, good evening, everybody. I want to thank Ted and his committee for the presentation and the work to do with communications. Quick story, a couple weeks ago, I'm walking across the parking lot. My mom pulls up, rolls down the window and says, "Are you the new interim superintendent?" I said, "Maybe." Depends on where you want. She said, "I just want to say congratulations. The communication in this district is amazing. It's really improved, and thank you." So I, of course, took full credit of that. And it really, it's great work.
Good job.
Yeah. It's great work that the committee's done and just for follow through with our staff and our parents. It's great to see that because communication is so important. I've not heard anyone complain about lack of communication across the board. So it's really a strong suit here. Quick thank you to Dave Zeck and his band of merry men who cleared parking lots, sidewalks, put down salt last week's snowstorm. They did a terrific job. We were able to open on time the next day, or Tuesday. Merry men and women, thank you, sorry. And thank you to Sharon Clare, our supervisor of transportation, for preparing the bus drivers and for being someone that I rely on to see the road procedure in Franklin Township to close school and thank you to everyone. Quick update. Because of that snow day, we are looking for, as of right now, one makeup day. The district calendar sheet says that we're to use a Friday of spring break. I don't like that at all. It's a really bad idea. We're trying to retain teachers and bring teachers back, kids back, parents back on vacation for a Friday. Education is not a really great idea, so we're looking at other options. Because we are just in January, we may get another day or two or three, God forbid. But later in the early spring, I'll be making recommendations to update this year's calendar to reflect those school closings. Hopefully it's just that one day. We are working on the 25-26 district calendar. It's a work in progress. I'm hoping to have approval or something to you by February. The challenge with this is if you look at where Christmas falls, it's in the middle of the week, so you bring kids and staff back for 2 days, or you take a full 2-week break. And anything you do there has repercussions. It's the butterfly effect throughout the rest of the school year. I am working with the union leadership who are reaching out to their membership and coming up with ideas. But I will have something for you. I've also worked with Superintendent Delcy. We're trying to arrange our calendars to be as close as possible. I know that's been an issue here in the past. I will have something for you to improve hopefully next month. Apologies, policies were late being put on the agenda. We met yesterday. Yesterday, and Michelle will give you some updates on where we stand with policies in the first reading. But apologies because we just met yesterday to get on the agenda early enough for dissemination. Some good news I shared with you last week in my Friday update. Really seeing some great improvements on state testing, 5th and 6th grade when it charges to math. We're outperforming the county and other districts in our district factor group. So it's really, over the past few years, really seen those scores moving in the right direction. Kudos to to everybody, really great growth over those 2 years. And the last thing I just wanted to talk, and go public with this, the board and I have been having ongoing discussions with the administration as well. We're looking to apply for the preschool expansion aid, which would allow us to offer free preschool for residents of the township for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, hopefully starting sometime early next school year. The application, we don't know when it's due yet. Usually they're due late spring after the announcement of funding. We've already started working on the application. Mr. Verso, Mr. Peters, and myself putting together this application. So we're hoping to use the format that's been submitted over the past 2 or 3 years. And if we have to modify some things for a new application, we can do that. But we should be ready to go and apply for this preschool expansion implementation, knock on wood, next school year. Very excited because it has great ramifications in many different areas across the board here. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. President. Questions? Mrs. Brown, anything to report from NJ, FBI?
Yeah, so there is a virtual meeting on Tuesday, February 4th for Camden and Walter County at 6:45. And that is on developing developing a district strategy for AI. This presentation will provide school board members and district leaders with strategies for developing a plan for the safe and appropriate use of AI.
Actually, one of our new policies, once we do a second reading, to implement protocols for using AI for our staff and our students. Ted's been forming a committee at his school. It's really going to be a district-wide committee on how we use AI. Kids are already using it, teachers are using it, I use it, everyone uses it. But we need to have guardrails on what we allow here in the district. The policy that we will approve as a first reading says that we will come up with guidelines on how, when, and where to use AI in our district. So it's very good.
Any board liaison reports? Move on to the approval of minutes and let's put those different members being present in the meeting. So make a motion to approve the minutes from our 12/16 regular board meeting. Do I have a second? All in favor? Any abstentions?
I think that's the meeting I missed.
Okay. Abstention from Mrs. Patton and abstention from Mrs. Brown. Yeah, you want to. I will now make a motion to approve the minutes from our reorganization board meeting on the 2nd of January. Do I have a second? Any other revisions or amendments? If so, all in favor? Human resources.
I ask you to approve the listing as presented.
Michelle, do you want to
Okay,
touch
sorry.
on any policies?
I just closed out the agenda by mistake. But I'll just go through, I may go through these, and they may not be in the order that they're on the agenda, but, and if I mess up anything. Yeah, so the policy committee met yesterday. It was myself, Brian, and Alicia, and I'll just go through the policies that are there. Most of them are mandated, and you'll see that, but first one is 9320, which is the memorandum of agreement with local police. It's really a policy that's catching up with current practice. We already have communication and work with the police in terms of day-to-day emergencies and so forth. So that's pretty much what that policy is covering. 5512 is our HIB policy. It's a revision. Basically, what has changed most is when the district has to notify police when we're investigating a HIB.
that involves an assault or bodily injury to a child or student. We have notified police of that. Is that the one we have to stop? Yeah. So we have to stop the investigation while the police take over and investigate. And then they'll notify us when and if we can continue with our own investigation. Policy 5533 is student smoking. Basically, the changes in there are when a student is found to be vaping on school property, the item, the vape item has to be confiscated and given to the police. Policy 7441, electronic surveillance. The change in there is that we have to have live stream available to the police, to the authorities when they're in the event of an emergency situation. So if there's a lockdown that's called, not planned, the police need to be able to see the stream in that school, what's happening, to identify anything that might be going on. Policy 9320 was co-op with law enforcement. The definition of law enforcement changed. It also includes the definition of what's called handle with care, where law enforcement will notify the school district when a student, possibly the night prior, was involved in a traumatic event, seen something, traumatic to them, so that the school is aware and can obviously meet the needs of that child that day. Policy 2365 is the AI policy, which was just mentioned. We're going to approve that policy and then work with admin and staff to come up with the regulations on how to enforce and utilize AI. Policy 5111 is eligibility of resident and non-resident teaching students and teaching staff. Basically, this is for teachers who have students, whether or not we will allow their students to attend. And the policy is recommended for that out-of-district teaching staff will not be able to bring their students to the district. Policy 5516, use of electronic devices. This is a new policy. We have one in place, but some of the language is really old, so it's definitely going to need some revisions. What the policy committee decided was to get some feedback from staff and administration. There's already reference to this in the conduct, student handbooks, so we wanted to collaborate that information to go into the policy. So we're going to get feedback on that, probably come back maybe next month or in the near future with that policy. Policy 5701, academic integrity, is basically just a change in language from plagiarism to academic integrity. Skip the policy 8500 for food services. Really just includes a lot of new terminology. Trish did go over the policy and concurred that everything we're doing already in the district follows the policy that's there. You have one policy to be abolished, which is 5710. Pupil grievance. We just felt it wasn't necessary. It's not a mandated policy. It's recommended, and we just felt it wasn't necessary to have for the district. Did I misspeak or miss anything?
No, but the AI policy isn't listed tonight.
Oh.
Oversight.
Sorry, I thought it was going to be
So we can either add it or wait. We're working on it now.
okay. Well, it's up to you. I thought we were going to have a policy on that.
But
Okay.
I just
No big deal.
it's not there.
Whatever you, I mean, yeah.
We can wait.
All right, so we'll scratch 2365. Okay.
Principals are looking at that.
Okay.
And the principals are looking at cell phone use policy as well.
Oh, did I miss that one?
Not really, I held that for now.
Oh, okay.
We're not doing anything with it.
Okay.
And the governor's big thing this week was banning cell phones. Like, there are 12 or 15 other states that do that. And that's what people do, chime in, give their impressions on what we should be doing in the classes.
Any other questions on the Thank you, Michelle, for the report. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the resource items H1 through H12 recommended by the superintendent. Second.
Second.
Any other comments or questions? First, call roll, please.
Brown?
Star?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Education items.
Approve absence.
Are there any comments or questions on education items? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve education items I-1 through I-5 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other comments? Richard, call roll.
Smith?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Grissom?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Motion carries.
General administration and superintendent report. Any of that? Another board member comments, questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve general administration items J1 through J6 is listed and recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second? Any other comments? Richard, call roll.
Wilson?
I was reading, I'm so sorry. Yes.
There's a better. Smith?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Grissom?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I like that you're switching up the votes.
Yeah, that's
Very
good.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
You're up for operations.
Yes, claims is listed. Anybody are to look at those or questions?
There's nothing new, right? This is what-
No, everything was as originally distributed. Budget transfer, board secretary report, and treasurer report are items 2, 3, and 4 for the month of November 2024. Still the cafeteria report, so we're real time on that. 6, 7, 8, or 9. 9, we have 2 listed, and 1 is a simple change of practice location. And that is it for operations. Really like this month.
Any board member questions on operations? Anyone need any additional time to review? Hearing none, make a motion to approve operations committee items K1 through K13 as recommended by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Any questions?
It's there.
Is it just-
Yeah, it's
okay.
just- that was a placeholder, and
Okay.
you get one at a time, so that'll be
Yep.
on the next meeting.
No problem, thank you.
Any other board members?
Thank you.
Treasurer, call roll.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Doyle?
Yes.
Grissom?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes, but I usually excuse myself from the wife.
Noted. Thank you. Smith?
Yes.
Star?
Yes.
Brown? Brett?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Old business, anyone have any comments on the board goals? Here, the planning calendar.
Just on the planning calendar, I would, again, like you did say that the work was exhausting, but I would just like to really try hard. We always have, but to make sure that we align, you know, that, I don't know how many of your friends rang, but we did delay, Nelson delayed, and it's always an uproar in this town when we don't do what, you know, the high school district does, so, you know, the more that we can keep everything aligned with them, much as we can for our own best practice, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, Mr. Bethlehem was talking about that after the meeting with Delson, you know, we figured in that's about priority.
Yeah.
I think you said you're close, right? You're not,
I know.
yeah, you're close, right?
We are, a couple of days. because of certain things.
Yeah, I knew we were delayed before I saw the announcement because, did you?
What's that?
So, why are they different? So, much as we, especially with the Christmas break.
Just something like that. You know, a lot of our high schoolers watch the younger students, so if they're in school and we're delayed, that's an
Oh, yeah.
issue. So I felt.
It's
at
worse the
ease
other way.
Doing the other way.
It's worse the other way.
I grew up outside of Brooklyn, so it was Dustin. Get to school.
I agree. I agree with that. It wasn't that much, but I think everybody threw an assessment, so that's probably about it.
Alan writes to me, 7 minutes.
I only got one time.
7 minutes.
Okay, that's all. Yeah, but you did it worse the other way.
Yeah. The other way, I probably would have done. She goes out there. And then your high school driver. You
Yes.
drive.
So anything else on the calendar? There's the feasibility study, regionalization, consolidation. Anyone have anything on that?
Items. So, I'm going to make a motion, but before I do, I just want to say, I want to have a discussion as a board. I want you to ask questions. I want you to, just a productive discussion, okay? So I am going to make a motion to approve the proposed regionalization ballot question with any changes that we make tonight.
I'll second that. Sorry.
That's good. So we have been working on this for so long, right? We're at a time crunch at this point. Okay, so we need to move forward and approve or change this question. So I went ahead and made copies of the question. I will pass them out. I highlighted, I know there was some disagreement with some of the sentences. I would like to talk about it, maybe remove them, maybe change them, whatever, the board thinks. But I want us to read it and really give it thought, because tonight's really important that when we get it to the public, however it's read, it's time to get it to the public to vote.
Alicia, right now, none of the other boards have approved the question yet, right? So if we approved it, we have to submit what we approved to them or share what we approved to them.
Yes, no other boards approved it yet, and the problem right now is that their board meetings are early February, ours is late February. There's a cutoff. If we don't have this to whoever it needs to be by February 15th, this now pushes the vote until September. Okay, and as you know, we're giving it on, and he's great, but we need to move forward through the hiring process to hire a superintendent if this fails. And this pushes to September. That's just making it more difficult for the Franklin schools. So does everyone have it? So on November 6th, this was emailed out to us. I think it was everyone, right, Jason? I don't want to, no, I think everyone on the board got this.
I can find it.
Okay, so I think everyone got it. And there was some discussion. It seemed like everyone thought the question was okay. So I'll give everyone time, especially Lacey, who, read the question. Let's read it to ourselves and we can move from there. We can talk about this right here.
I'm not going to discuss anything with attorney-client privilege. If you want to make changes to this, but I will make it attorney-client privilege.
That's just the wording, the verbiage used in this.
That would usually be, because that's a conversation I have had.
Can you speak into your microphone, please?
And give us the feedback. So we can do it correct. We can do it here.
We need to do it.
Not here?
I think we need to do it.
I am, so I will say this. I will say.
Could we please speak into a microphone? I'm so sorry. We can't hear, and we want to be able to hear this
Sorry.
conversation.
I will say this, and I'm not going to get any further into it. You've all received my email with my thoughts, comments regarding this. At this point, yeah, that's, when I sent that email, I'm not going to get into the content of it, because that is attorney-client privilege. You know my thoughts, you know my comments. It really is at this point, your determination as to what you think, really the proposed explanatory statement. I mean, if you want to change the proposed ballot question, that's completely up to you guys. I'll let attorney, or there's a disagreement in that regard, you can just come with the explanatory statement. That's the board's discretion.
Yes, and I think the board, I think we agreed with that we all liked the question. It was sentences in the explanatory statement, which some of us felt were ambiguous, unclear, misleading, whatever it was.
So if I think what we want to add to that is you have that part here where Alicia has, it's really based around the policy. As our attorney, can we just remove that? If that's what everybody is not.
Yeah, so, and let me be clear on this. You can do anything you want. I don't know what the other boards.
Well, they would have to agree to it.
They have to agree.
Right,
So,
but we have to take the first step.
the direction would be, I would tell you, rather than approve this, you're giving me direction to have a conversation. It's up to you. It's up to you. You can do either way.
And that's fine. I think though.
But I guess for Alicia's concern, she needs it done tonight.
It needs to be done.
Otherwise, we're now treading water, and again, no disrespect, we're the only board that has to do something as far as, are we going to consolidate and have someone who leads us, or do we have to hire someone? Are we willing to give up 8 more months? Because at this point, if it's gonna fail, let it fail and be done, so we can go along with our work.
Right.
Because we're the only board that's suffering, not suffering, we're not suffering, but we're the only board that's at a stalemate of what direction do we go in? And
The only caveat I would
respectfully,
give-
this was brought to us from Delsey Straight. It's not costing anybody money, but it's costing us time and what does our future look like? Because superintendent search does not take 2 months.
Only caveat I would give you is, you could absolutely approve this list, make changes, not make changes, whatever the case may be. I just can't promise you.
They have to agree with it. And if they don't agree with
I just
it,
want you to understand.
I think if they don't agree with it and they delay the timeline, then maybe that directs us further, right? If we give them every opportunity to say, this is what we're okay with, if you're not, and you're going to then risk that timeline, maybe we don't wait around for them anymore. But it isn't at our lack of effort on our part.
Well, my concern is that I don't know that there's majority board support to move this forward.
But we won't know until we take a vote.
So for us to go through and do the ballot question, I mean, it could be a futile effort.
No, we have not yet sat together as a board to discuss this. This is ridiculous. November 6th, we are held up because of the change in board member. We now have our board member. It is time to move on and have this discussion. It is time.
Well, I'm not disagreeing that we can have a discussion. What I'm saying is, I don't know that there's the support to even approve the question.
So you don't think there's all board members here don't want to leave it up to the voters to vote?
Correct.
Well, that's,
I mean, me personally, I mean, the information or lack thereof information is astounding. That's like, I could not never in good conscience agree to present a question to the voters based on the amount of information that we've been provided up to this point. So,
I think we provided a lot of information.
But I think that's the bottom line. I think the problem is, we are 9 votes in a community of how many thousands? At some point, we have to put the ball in the court of the community and let them decide, did you have enough information? Because if you don't, vote no. Because we didn't start this process, and it's not costing anybody any money. But
Well, I
it's
mean-
costing us our time.
right, I mean, you and I can just disagree on
No,
our philosophy
and-
on whether or not.
And I know that you don't support it, but let it go to the people and let them then not support it. And we did our due diligence, and then we can move forward doing the work that this board needs to get done.
Well, the problem is, I don't feel that we did our due diligence, and we don't have the information to present to the public to make an informed decision. We've not provided a level.
We were given a question, right? We don't have to agree with it, but we were given a question. If what we don't agree with in the explanatory statement, not the question, just in the statement, take it out. We would be doing our work to say, sure, here's what we vote no.
Well, I don't feel comfortable asking a question without providing an explanation.
We were given the question.
And Jason, so, all right, they need more, you think the community needs more explanation, then we will talk to Delcy, and we'll have weekly meetings up until vote, come open forum, let's talk about it. But no one is moving forward, no one is making an initiative. It is time to move forward, it's time.
Alicia, I'm just telling you.
I hear you, I've heard you for 2 years, I hear
You
you.
call for the vote, let's vote. I mean,
Let's read it, let's talk about it, let's be productive, and come up with a decision, and then we vote.
that's fine. I mean,
I'd say just take out the highlighted.
We did pass a resolution to move this forward.
That
We did. We are now waiting on passing the approved question. So we did pass a resolution to move it forward.
that resolution, Jeff needs to be done.
We don't, this is why we don't get things done. Fact, we passed a resolution, work in front of us, question. Let's just stick to the work in front of us. We moved past that point, we did that work.
The resolution is pointless. The resolution is not binding. So the resolution meant nothing at the time, and still means nothing.
But now we're at the next step that nobody wants to put the next foot forward.
No one wants to put the next one forward because nobody wants to necessarily.
Let's hear from everybody. We're just hearing from you, Jason. Board, can we please add to the discussion? If anyone want to add to this, please. Thank you.
So as a non-board member, I did go to the September meeting at Delsey. I was there with people, with other parents. People weren't open mind. They left with more questions than answers. I think that's the biggest concern is people are going to go about, oh, you should do this because, it's going to save you money. But it was such a misleading presentation that it's misleading. And I think people felt that. It almost felt like a car salesman, was what people had commented.
So if I'm not going to put you on the spot, you don't have to answer me. You were at that meeting.
Yeah,
You were just the general public.
which I was, yeah.
Right. Tonight,
Right.
we passed this. Would you say, I'm not voting for something, I'm not voting, so I'm going to go vote no?
Because I was there.
Right.
But how many people were
There
not
were
there?
not many at all. There weren't. And I think the agenda, the idea is to have another informational meeting, which we can't get to until we start.
Let me
looking
correct you
into it.
there because it was specifically stated at the last hearing committee meeting, which I know that you're not a part of, that there would be no more public hearings.
That's not true.
That is exactly true.
They did not
100%.
say that.
They did say that.
No, they did not.
Mr. Beth, you were not.
I think this is a discussion for 9 months.
I'm asking someone else in the meeting, they heard it, same way I heard it. It was asked about additional
Who else
public.
was at the meeting?
Trish.
It's not what I heard.
Trish, you asked about additional public meetings because you noted that in Henry Hudson, they had no less than 5 public meetings. And,
So then we make that a stipulation.
well, yeah, I'm just trying to clarify that it was said at the last hearing committee, there would be no more public meetings.
Right, and we can say we disagree, we want public meetings. And then we fill in from our board, take the initiative and hold a public meeting. That's how that works.
Jason, holding public meetings has been spoken about since the inception of this, after and throughout, right before, if and when there was going to be a public vote. There has to be more information given out. We talked about streaming it, recording it, so when people couldn't be there, they could watch it later. So there were many discussions in regards to having another meeting, if not more than one meeting, before it was able to go to vote. Now, the time frame has changed, so there may not be able to be more than one. But the last conversations we've had were that there would be a community meeting. It was going to be in Delsey, it was going to be recorded. That was the preliminary idea, so that those that couldn't attend could watch.
That's not what we're discussing here.
Well, and if there is, who runs it? Because the last one was set. People ask questions, and the 3 men that sat at the table didn't have one answer.
Listen, no one's disagreeing
And I
that
was
that first meeting wasn't good. But that doesn't mean the regionalization itself is bad. Just because the presentation was bad, doesn't mean the plan is bad.
Okay, spending all that money when the people who are in charge of it could not
I
answer.
think, but I think if we get, I think we're going
here's how I see it, and I will give you my personal opinion. I don't know that I have enough information, and if I had to go vote tomorrow, I think that not feeling like I had enough information, I wouldn't support this. But at some point, we have to turn it over to the people and say, good, bad, or indifferent.
I don't think it's responsible to turn it over without the information. If we who went are uncomfortable, and we are 100% split, how do you put it out to the public who just hear Fran say, go Delsey, and they're gonna, let's go Delsey, and have no idea.
Put in my perspective, there's like 10 movies down, and we can move on from this, like,
But if the ones that are supposed to be most educated about it and looking into it are uncomfortable, how do you hand it over to people who didn't?
Yeah,
Or pay attention?
I mean, if you put something out, you're endorsing. So.
we're not endorsing it.
If we
And
did
by the way,
that, we're saying
I don't see this, I don't see this as an endorsement. I don't see this as an endorsement. I see this as a responsibility that we were given when we were put in these seats to represent the public and say, here you go, this is what we were given, this is what we can provide you, you choose. I think it's irresponsible to allow them not to have choice.
I don't think we were ever, there was any obligation for us to ever put this out for the public vote, because that was.
But us putting it out to the public vote isn't our endorsement. I'm going to endorse what I want in the ballot.
Well, again, I mean, we disagree on that. I can't in good conscience send something out that I don't believe in or that I endorse, like Michelle's point. We're supposed to be the ones with the information. We don't have the information. How can you possibly expect the voter to understand and have the information? We can't even provide it ourselves.
Are we willing then to drag our feet on this?
No, we set the deadline of October. If something wasn't done in October.
Right, and things got done. But now we're up against the timeline of the state of when you can hold a special election.
Well, the problem is that there's no one that really has any interest in moving this forward. That's why it's not moving forward. The folks that were supposed to be moving it forward are not interested in doing it.
What are you talking about?
They have to wait on us.
Yes.
They're not waiting on us. They have.
They can't do anything until we get back this.
But who wants it? Because at that meeting, everyone I heard that stood up and were
I don't think that's
Delsey's
anybody.
board, we have to give this back to Delsey's board. They are stuck at a stalemate until we
No,
get
no, it all stopped when the attorneys were looking at the question. And we're now on January 1. No one has reached out. No one has come to us and said, we need to move this forward. They're disinterested in doing it. No one is interested in moving the project forward. I mean, not anyone. I mean, you clearly are passionate about it and you want to move forward. You know?
The other boards are interested. They are interested.
Why have they not reached out to us?
because we were the ones that had meetings.
No, we weren't.
Last
It
thing
was
we
not us
did,
holding anything up.
yes, we got this in November. Nothing can move without this, and we had to
Kelsey
wait.
never agreed to that.
Because then we have to tell them, this is what we agreed to. If you're okay with it, then they send it
That
up.
negotiation is supposed to happen between Mr. Pacheco and the solicitor for Jones.
Can I ask a question?
I don't think that's,
Is that right?
No.
Of course, Mr. Pacheco, do you understand it?
At this point, my understanding is this just was provided to the attorney for Delsey. They don't tell us. That's what and I told him that we had to address these issues. So he is waiting to hear back from us. I don't know what they're doing in terms of the vote. I haven't heard from them.
He's waiting for that from us. November 6th. What is the date? Like,
But we couldn't do anything until a week ago when Lisa was sworn in. So we're a week late.
but the lawyers,
So
had this
it's
since November
been 3
6th.
months. We've been sitting for, what, 7 days? Like, when did you get sworn in? That's the extension.
No, they've had the question since November 6th.
But we couldn't address it until we got.
We couldn't vote on it until
Right.
Lacey was
So
on.
we're
Yeah.
7 days, we're not 3 months. Right? I mean,
Well, I'm talking about the lawyers that had it.
But everybody's had an agreement and understanding was because of the late duck issue, which everyone agreed on, that we would wait until we had a board, we had a full reorganized board until we could.
So go ahead, Lisa. I mean, continue with what we're saying. I mean, you made a motion.
I need a motion because if we don't do this tonight,
Why are we gonna wait?
like,
So
We didn't vote before because we were in lame duck session. We're not in lame duck session anymore.
Right, again, I don't think there are any board support.
Well,
So is there going to be majority board next month?
That's why you vote. Let everybody put their vote
So
in.
when is there going to be board support? When is there going to be board support that we can put this question out to the community, which we're voting into, to give it up to them to vote? When will that happen? Are you saying that will never happen? So you're saying that some people at this table are going to make a decision over the 20,000 community members that are in this?
I think.
Well, however many.
People at the table are saying this.
Yeah, if she made a motion for a vote, and it was seconded, doesn't it have to be voted on?
Yes, it does.
But I think that the problem
So
is,
there will be a vote.
but what I think Alicia should
No, no,
say,
Then let's,
did anybody want to take out the part that she highlighted?
Yes.
And would that make you feel more comfortable with the question?
yeah,
I was the question.
I would like that part.
We're not going to change the numbers and the tax
Right.
percentages, but the split taxation,
Highlight the part.
if we remove the highlighted part,
so the motion is to approve the question.
So why don't we do this? The first thing you need to do is agree on any changes, and then you decide whether you want to approve the question, period.
I'm fine with taking out the highlighted part. And I think if you took out the highlighted part, I would feel much more comfortable with this as something to send back to Delsey and say, this is what we're comfortable with. But we're not comfortable with that possibly not being the right opinion.
Should we not decide as a board whether or not we want to even discuss the question? Regardless of what, yeah,
So just to be clear, the motion was to approve the ballot question with any changes.
with any changes that we make
So
tonight.
if the vote is to not approve, and let's make sure we're all clear on this. If the vote, so you make the changes, and you vote no, then you don't vote. Then the ballot question doesn't go. Right? That's, yeah, if you vote yes, we're sending the changes, I will contact their attorney and say, this is what was voted on, either you're voting on it or not.
Right.
well, I guess if we vote whether or not, regardless of the changes, it will be approved.
No, it's a vote on, there's a motion and a second, that has to be voted on first.
Okay, so we're going to go through the motions of looking at changes, discussing that, or something we haven't agreed to in the first place.
So now we're open for questions. So I'm expressing support to take this out. And that's the question that I will. So I think everybody should take a turn and say, out or not? Are we making changes or not? So we know what we're going to vote.
Again, I'm just a little bit confused. I'm not
Because
going
there was a motion.
I'm not going to vote yes to any question, regardless of the question.
Okay, that's fine.
The reason stated,
That's fine. Well, when there's a motion and a second,
That's fine.
then it's discussion and vote on that.
Well,
You can't
it's kind of like the court.
interject a second.
The horse here. So I'm just,
It's only that Robert rules.
no, I'm not disagreeing with Robert.
No, I know.
I mean, she can rescind the motion if she wanted to. I just don't understand how we discuss something that we haven't agreed to yet. So, let's,
Where did this question, where did
It was
this
emailed to us on November 6th.
from, but where did it originally come?
The steering committee.
I got it.
The steering committee, all three boards.
But originally, before we were held up with the lame duck issue, when we talked about this the first time, everybody's concern was that cost saving part of the statement.
Right.
So I think where we're at is, does everybody want to take that out? Yes or no?
Yes.
Me, yes.
Anyone else would take that out?
Yes.
Yes.
And if you're a no, say no. And then that is the question.
Maybe the better way to say it,
Vote.
does anyone want to keep that language?
Well, it's missing, is it missing anything?
Well, that's what the board is.
So that's what I really like.
Right.
So if you take that out, the whole presentation itself was, everything was so misleading and I feel like who's going out to this vote? Like when is that vote going to be? Say if it goes to a vote, public vote, when?
Well, so if we move this forward tonight,
Right.
we need a timeline of spring.
then the earliest it could happen would be September.
Right, but let's face it that people who only know about what's going on will go out and vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know, like, no.
I don't think we can get into the mind of the voter.
Think your vote will go out.
We shouldn't be trying to figure out the mind of the voter. That's not our job.
0%.
Well, it should be a November visit.
That's another year.
We have work to do.
Why? What if there's another board member waiting on another change or something? That's why.
Make that motion. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know, like, really, the terms of, like, I don't understand what that.
But we're not voting on whether we're regionalizing or not. We're voting on to put this on the ballot.
You can abstain. Okay. You can abstain.
Well, and right now, we're only voting on changes like that. That's it.
That's it.
Well,
We're not even voting.
Oh, that's it.
Let's be clear. So
Not
that's why I'm
even
trying to make,
either.
that's why I was trying to make this clear. Alicia's motion was to approve the ballot structure, any changes. You're going to approve whatever changes you're making now.
Right.
You either approve it or not approve it. If you approve it, it goes, we have a
don't.
conversation with Delta. If you don't approve it, I would say that
It stays here.
it's over, it's done, we move on, and not talk about it. Right?
Not necessarily.
How not?
Well, I need to
Let's
know
just
my-
do this. Guessing what should have happened next.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have an answer closed. I understand what it means.
They're abstaining.
I mean, can you amend your motion to?
I thought my motion was clear. I don't know how much more to be clear. I even wrote it down. I read it 8 million times before I came here to be sure. Make a motion to approve the proposed regionalization ballot question with any changes that we make tonight. That was what I said. So that means that I want to approve it. I want to approve a question tonight. She seconded it. So now we would say, okay, questions. We talked about the statement, we're moving it. A question needs to be created, needs to be finalized. The other boards are going to finalize a question at their next board meeting.
If they, and they could say.
They have to, before they ever
That
do
they can put back in. And Lisa was sharing our hand and said,
So, I guess to take the verbiage out
Yes.
means the question going forward.
Yes, without verbiage.
A no vote of leaving the verbiage in, and that's where I.
Yeah, that's
No
what it is.
discussion, then the question is just still.
you should just vote on the question.
Yeah, I
On the question.
no,
The question.
leave it in, submit it,
Decide
yes,
what's
take it out, submit it.
Decide what the question going to be.
So then we don't talk about hiring, we're talking about, are we sending a question to Delta?
Oh, we should like to make the motion, amend the motion to vote on the question without the highlighted language.
Can I amend my motion? Trish,
yeah.
I want to make a motion to approve the proposed regionalization ballot question without the highlighted sentences.
Second.
Okay, so a no vote, a yes vote would be to proceed to a public ballot question.
Now we're
Only
talking
sending it
about
to
money.
Delsey. They still have to work on it. It doesn't mean if we say this is the question we're okay with, it goes to Delsey. It doesn't automatically, are they going to, does it have to?
This is the question. They already came up with it.
This is their question.
All of us. There was a steering committee.
Doesn't he have to approve this question?
So all the boards approve this question.
Yes, so none of the committee, right, boards.
So that's what we're skipping, so yes.
Yes, but it has to go to the commissioner next.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't go to the commissioner.
Correct.
But in terms of this vote, so that was a specific motion to vote on specific language.
Correct.
So if you vote no, I think that's what the concern is, if you vote no, then you're not agreeing to the,
To this
one of two things. You either change the ballot question, or you have another vote, and you decide you're not going to send. That's really the board decision.
Yeah, there needs to be two questions.
But you have to go through the first one first. And if a yes vote sends us to Chelsea. Chelsea then has to send it to the Commissioner of Education, because then has to approve it. So it's not like we said yes, and Chelsea says, yeah, good, stamps it, we're gonna get a ballot. It has to go to the Commissioner now.
Yeah, but essentially, we're agreeing to send it to a public vote, / snipes. Right?
No, I don't necessarily think so. Because it,
Well, we're
we have
going
to
to
give
give
them
it to Delsey.
to Delsey to say, this is what we are okay with. You work on it now. Maybe Delsey says, no, we're not doing it without that sentence, and then we say, then it's over.
Yeah, but Chelsea does agree to it.
Then it goes to the Commissioner.
Then it goes to the Commissioner, and then
So
it goes
there's
to the
still,
vote.
it's not like before April.
So we're voting tonight.
But it's not the final question. What the Commissioner would have to give us the final question, and everybody says, send it to the public.
What you can
Am I
do,
wrong?
I
could be wrong.
Well, I view this, if we approve this question, then we approve the question going to the public. Yes.
A question.
Yes, most likely it's going to be very similar, if not the same question we're approving tonight. Because everybody has to approve, all parties have to
But
agree to the question.
am I correct in thinking that
The verbiage was also used and presented to us in the fact that it was used for other public votes.
Right.
So, there probably wouldn't be much that the commissioner would not agree with or would change.
But if he, don't we have, isn't there one more step where we would all say, yep, that's the question, and then we say, we're fine with, he would say, it would be a such and such a date, and we would then vote, yes, we're fine with sending to the public on that date. Isn't there one more step?
I think the only way that would happen is if there were changes from after we approved it to Delsey. So if Delsey got it, they made additional changes or added language, then it would have to come back to us. But if we approve it and Delsey approves it, then it's off to the commission.
Well, once we approve it, our hands are off of it.
so
We're out.
if
We can go on.
if you vote yes on the motion, it goes to Delsey.
Yeah.
They decide whether they're agreeable,
Right.
and that helps. If you vote no, then you have to agree with the ballot question. You have to make a decision as a board.
Okay.
What's the next steps?
Okay. I thought there was one more step, that's why I was asking if I was.
Oh, yeah,
incorrect.
there are more steps.
Yeah, you never made more
Yes.
steps, but.
I know, I thought there would be
It's-
one more vote where we'd say, now we're okay.
No, I think ultimately,
Okay, okay, that's fine. I just thought there was actually one more formal vote that everybody's saying, send it to the public.
So there's a motion and second. No vote, like, so I understand, in my case, where I'm uncomfortable because of lack of information, I will vote yes. If you want this to go to the public as it is, and the public to make a vote on it, then you can vote yes.
No,
Or
not
abstain.
as is, but with the language taken out, the way it's been proposed.
Well, when I say that, like, without any additional meeting, any additional information.
Right, how
If
we
you're
took out
comfortable
the.
with the public voting on it as it
Right.
sits now, then you would vote yes.
Or you can abstain if you feel like you don't have enough information.
Are there any questions or? Good.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Doyle?
No.
Progresso?
yes.
Wilson?
No.
Smith?
No.
Star?
Yes.
Brown?
No.
Graham?
No. Motion is not
Motion
carried.
is not carried.
Any other discussion on that matter?
So then, we're going to tell Delsey we could not agree on this.
As long as they go for direction at this point. You could get rid of the ballot question.
So then
Have that
that
conversation.
brings us not before September,
Yes, because our next meeting is after February 15th.
so they hold more public meetings, and even if they change the question, and we're all comfortable, and we find a question that we all support it would not get to the public before September.
Yeah, once, Chelsea's meeting is what, the 5th?
Yeah, the first week in February.
Yeah, we have 10th and
Oh, are they? I thought
10th
10th
and
and
17th,
17th.
10th and something, 15th.
10th and the 9th.
I counted as the 19th, that's why I.
First, work session is 19th, regular meeting is 10th.
So that they have,
Regardless, where-
until our meeting on Wednesday meeting,
The 5th, I think. I want to say the 5th.
so
My
would it be acceptable for me to say, if it's at the board's pleasure, for you to go back to Delsey and tell them we weren't comfortable with the questions? And in general, this seems like it has a lack of support here because of the lack of clear information. So they need to have, to us by the 10th, a plan, an outlined plan of what they intend to do to either have they change the question or what their role as far as rolling out information to the public would be, because on the 10th, we either have another question to vote on or we need to move forward.
Why don't I suggest call their attorney and have that conversation? But the attorney having the conversation, it should be the board. So maybe you guys should have a conversation as a group, and then it'll be the full board, the committee, however you have done it, with Tristan Ryan, and have that conversation, decide what you need.
That was going to be my next recommendation, is the steering committee hasn't met since, I believe, November, early November. So there's been no meeting since then, since the lane board issue, as well as the resolution passed in October. So there could be, Delsey keeps getting mentioned, but I think it's more or less the steering committee that would need to get back together. They're the ones that would put together the forums, if having any meetings, or moving forward in general, regardless of that. And obviously, board members here on the steering committee could take that back to.
Well, I think the steering committee should tell Elsie on or before February 10th, this is the information that the majority of our board, everyone on our board wants. At very minimum, to address this again, and if not, then we see where we're at.
So you're going to do that from the steering committee, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a little slightly confused. There's really no interest from the other parties on this matter. The board just voted tonight. There's not majority support for this board. How long are we just going to keep?
That's the question.
Let it go to vote, so we can just end this.
We just chose
2
not to
decades.
vote. I mean, what more information is going to happen that's going to change the minds of the folks that just voted tonight? I mean,
This is why I'm not trying to step on any toes or do anybody's job, but I think sometimes we have a lack of communication. If we go to Delsey now through either the steering committee and or the attorney or both, tell them you did not support the question. This is the concern. There is a lack of support, and this is what it seemed as though the Franklin Township Board is interested in getting by the 10th, or it could die. We put the ball in their court now, right?
Second, I am on the steering committee. The information that I would like to have seen, I said at every single steering committee meeting, over and over and over again, and it was ignored time and time and time again. From the first steering committee.
I'm not doubting it, because I'm not on it.
Right. So thinking that all of a sudden there's somehow miraculously going to be all this information provided by
Right.
someone,
But-
a group that's not even interested in moving forward. I mean, that's what
And I hear you, but when the last time we had a really meaty discussion about this, and we agreed, this board agreed to give them an October 1st deadline,
Right.
things got done. They have a February 10th deadline now. They're the one leading this call. We didn't initiate this, so if they
Exactly.
can't move
They're
that
not
February,
meeting because they don't want to move forward with it. There's no.
then that's the answer.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
Right, so February 10th. February 10th is the next time that 8 or 9 of us will be together again. If we don't have the we're done, we're moving on. I mean, that's pretty clear, and concise.
Accomplish multiple public hearings, so on and so forth, in the next.
And if they're not willing to do the work, then they give us the answer.
That's what, I mean,
I would send the email, Jason, let it.
Right, like, if they're not willing to put, this is what we need from them, if they're not willing to do
They told us
it,
absolutely nothing. They're not gonna do something in the next 3 to 4 weeks, but let it be up to them.
then exactly, just like it was when we said October
Just
first.
doesn't wanna do it. Let
What's
it be on
gonna
them.
change? I mean, we keep pushing our own deadlines out. I mean, if you recall, I mean, I wanted to just move in March of 2024, to start looking for a new superintendent. I didn't want to wait around for this exact reason. So we had an October deadline, you know, and that came and went. So
But when we gave them that 6-week timeline,
again, it's
we
always,
got a lot done.
you realize it's always been us, it's always been
But at no
dropped
point-
until we.
You're right, but at no point, but at no
point.
point in this public, whoever may be out in the public say, well, Franklin voted not to have it. No. Franklin requires certain objectives to be met, and when they weren't, it moved on. There's a big
Well, again, if
difference.
that's what you need to feel comfortable in.
It is. It is, because if we're not going to give the vote to the public, I want to have a reason that if somebody says, well, why didn't we, all that work was done, 2 years worth of work, and all that bond money was spent, why didn't we give it to the people? Well, this was why.
Was it on the study?
Well, see, that's the thing. is
So Steph, are you suggesting that Jason reach out to Delsey, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I think that the lawyers should reach out to the lawyers and the steering committee, and you're on it, and you're a board president. They should know, these are the things we're requiring by the town. If you don't want to do them, probably you won't. Your board doesn't have the support. It was displayed tonight in the vote.
I just don't know how you're gonna list those items. I mean, one of those items would be have an informed public, like have quantify that, have some public meetings where there's actually public support.
Because
I mean,
this is just my personal opinion, as a member of the public. If I went to that public meeting, everybody can agree it was bad. I would have left there and said, if I have to vote on one tomorrow, I'm a hard no, okay? If I went to the first one, and I hear that they're gonna have a second one, I'm probably gonna go. If you didn't learn from your mistake, and you don't make the improvements that you know the people are asking for, and it's still not enough, then
well, that's fine, but the
Then
steering
that's
committee was
what it is.
presented with that information, and the steering committee decided to not hold any further public meetings. That was the decision of the steering committee.
So, but you go back to them and say, we're 1/3 part of this steering committee, and this is what we require to be willing to consciously send this to our voting public. And if you're not willing to do it, then do it.
That's
Jason, if you're not willing to do it as part of the steering committee, I will reach out to Fran tomorrow.
That's something I'm
I
not
will
willing to
email.
do.
Well, then stop discussion, then just do what the consensus is, or what it
There's
is.
no consensus.
Well, then let's
I'm
make it.
asking that. I'm asking that. If there is, at the pledge
First of
says
all, I don't think
that
it's appropriate for myself or any board member to reach out to them directly. It should come from the superintendent or it should come from our legal counsel, because that's how it's been handled previously.
That's fine.
Then let's do that, then let's do that.
That's fine. I mean, I don't think there's any consensus on what these items are. I mean, in my mind.
I'm not saying that. Someone from this board, or someone from Franklin should reach out to Delsey to let them know what occurred at this meeting today, the discussions that happened around the ballot question, and move on from there.
What occurred at this meeting was the board voted
If you keep talking,
on whether or not to proceed with regionalization, and they voted not to. That's what happened, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And you can
We
tell
heard
them
that.
why.
Absolutely.
That's
there's
that's
lack-
exactly what I just said.
Because of lack of information, that everybody on the agreement that voted against it because of lack of
Right,
information.
so if they're
That's
not
fine.
willing to provide the information
That's
that
fine.
we require to feel comfortable with it, then they let it die, not us.
Are you clear on that, on what the message is?
I am clear on the message, and that's determined in a conversation with their attorney. Ultimately, you guys might have a conversation to come up with what information you want. It sounds like before February 10th, right? So you're looking for certain information.
They don't even know what information
I
they're
don't know
looking
that.
Yeah, I don't.
They don't even know what information they're looking for.
Right.
But they want information.
We want the pros and.
that's another 30-page document that we worked so hard to Okay.
It was sent out by Delcy, by Fran. So it's
Yeah, I
just
know,
like months ago.
yeah, before it
It's over. It was down at the meeting. It was there, yeah.
180
It
pages
was
out.
out before that, or maybe some of it.
How about a transparent accounting of how much it's actually going to cost the regional fund?
That's an impossible number to get.
Well, then it's impossible to get, so I guess.
We don't know who's retiring, we don't know who's leaving, we don't know who's coming and going. That is an impossible number
That's
to
an ignorant
get.
statement to make, because they can easily calculate this figure.
Wrap it up.
But that's something that every person, if it were to go vote, that's something that every voter would say, that information is what's required, I need to know.
Yeah, but
If I don't
it's
know
not
that,
going to vote, we just voted to not send it to the situation.
Well, I think then by February 10th, we would have a clear direction from them, what their direction is, because we have to clear with or without this, on our monthly line. Like, for good.
I will have a conversation with her.
Thank you.
Tell them exactly
Yep.
what happened this evening. And then I will reach out, Brian, Jason, and say, so I'll ask them, how do you want to proceed? And find out how you proceed. Conversation, that's like the conversation.
Can you reach out to the entire steering committee?
I don't know.
It would be just Michelle and Jason at this point, right? It would be
I mean, if you don't,
Yeah,
okay.
whoever's in the steering committee, I'll reach out to them.
It's fine.
Yeah, I
As long as it's not, as long as it's not a majority.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Jason, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, can we skip this verbal budget update? Skip it, right?
Keep it short and quick, follow up that conversation. In line with the budget calendar, the budget projection module in the accounting system was made available to the administrators and supervisors, 11/15/24. Departmental budgets were submitted for their initial review on 12/13/24. We are currently this week, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, completing the departmental budgets with the supervisors and directors. So again, that's why this verbal update is pretty short, because not everything has been fully reviewed. We'll continue to do that next week, and then in February, we'll look to have additional information to report. Keynotes or key dates to keep in mind are Tuesday, February 25th, as that's the governor's address. And then 2 days later, we should get state aid notices about how much state aid we received or did not receive. Health insurance last year went up about 5.34%. So far, I'm estimating about 5.5%, but I don't know anything about that until late February when the shift meets. To reiterate some numbers from last year, 22 teaching staff members will be eligible for family benefits starting July 1 of 2025. That cost is totaling about $550,000 increase. But about how budgeted or not will stand to reason at some later point. Revenues, looking at tax percent, levy increase, 2% represents $253,100. There's no bank account available, so the highest 2% will be used unless there are any other adjustments provided by Chapter 44 adjustment, enrollment adjustment, or state health benefit costs as they increased last year about 15%. Still working on new bill tuition numbers, so that's not included in any figures as of late. That's pretty much all I have so far.
Any questions? What was the speaking date?
February 27th.
Have you heard any rumors from amongst your peers?
Yeah, a lot of rumors and we're some expect potential decreases. Black funding will be a greatly received thing. Our enrollment on the ASSA did decrease about 15 students over last year's number. So the state is is calculated based on the 5-year enrollment average, plus the equalized values of the township variables. And then the state does some other things, just to come up with the right number. So,
go for the best one compared to what?
correct, correct.
I mean, you really can't figure that number. Can't really discuss one.
Yeah, the only thing we really can do at this point is continue putting in the expenses that we know we're going to have and or are anticipating. And then once state numbers are seen, probably come back.
Any questions? I make a motion to go to the public second.
Second.
All in favor? Any members of the public wish to comment? This evening, matter. Good evening, Mr. Mark.
I'm up as chair of the Communication Commission for the township. For those who don't know, that meeting was videoed. It is still on YouTube. And if you and Elk, which you guys seem to be ignoring and don't care about, because you're talking about Delsey, it's you and Elk merging into Delsey. Their next meeting is February 13th. If it goes to a vote, or if there's another presentation, it will be videoed, it will be on YouTube, it will also be on the township TV station. Thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Shanklin.
Good evening. I appreciate the support, and I hope everything works out well. I do want to say, being on that committee for 2 years, to kind of calm everything down, it was very disjointed, and there were a lot of issues that weren't clear, which includes the steps that needed to be taken at each way. You know, when I found out that our attorney had not been involved at all until the very end, it was kind of disheartening, because I kind of thought he was in the loop, which would have helped with the understanding of everything, don't you think, if the attorney had been involved? So the confusion you're displaying up here is very valid, because I don't think there's been clear step-by-step what has to be done. And I was at that last meeting that Jason and Michelle disagree as far as what was said. I believe that there were several ideas thrown around that once the question was okayed by all the parties, because it has to be all the parties, that Delsey and not just the superintendent, but the assistant superintendent came up with 3 or 4 ideas as to what they could do to make it better for the community. They were going to have a presentation that would be public. They had a special email address they were going to set up for particular questions, a Q&A, those kinds of things. However, that was the end of October in the hopes that it would be done by the middle of November. So they were kind of talking about that 4 months ago. So it is a confusing situation, and I don't think it's been, I just think it's been kind of haphazardly done. And I think that maybe there's a difference between Mr. Brandt and myself, and maybe even Mrs. Cunningham and myself, as far as what was expected of that team that did the study. That team was not supposed to be selling it. The team was supposed to be giving us information. And they weren't supposed to sit at that public meeting, and I agree the public meeting did not go well. They were not supposed to be selling that regionalization. They were supposed to be providing information, which in agreement was not done well at all. We all know, we were all there. We all sat there. So this, just so you know, your confusion is understandable, because it's a confusing situation. But I really think, in my own opinion, but now it sounds like it's not going to go that way, I think it's up to the community to make a decision on whether they have enough information or not. It's up to the community. I don't think 9 people at this table have a right to say they can't vote, but they also have the responsibility to provide a good question. So it's kind of both ways, I think. So I'm just saying, it's been a tough situation that we've been through. But it will be revisited, trust me, because this is the third time I've been through it. Third. So it'll be revisited in a few more years, but this time the state might be a little more assertive about... Well, I don't know. I heard that 20 years ago too, Alicia.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just saying. I heard it when Mr. Sweeney had the big county one. We were going to be one big county school, and we had to go to Washington Township and see that it does come around a lot. It does. It does come around, and that's the big threat. But who knows? Who knows what's really going to go down? So I kind of see every side to this, to be honest with you, and that's all I want to say. But thank you all for letting me sit here next to Michelle again. I appreciate it. And that's all I got to say, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'm clumsy. My name is Brooke Sanders. I'm a TFEA member, first grade teacher at Janvier. But again, this is my second time coming up here. I actually have a voice this time. I am coming up as a parent. It's disappointing to hear a lot of no votes tonight for sending out to the public. I do agree with Barb when she's mentioning, you know, the community does deserve a right to vote. It's unfortunate that we're listening to you guys collaborate about this question, but the community doesn't even know what the question is, you know, and I believe not only as a parent in the district, but as an educator in the district, the parents have a right to know what you guys are talking about in some capacity. And I do believe that it's important for the community to be able to make a decision on their child's education. I will have 3 children going through this district. I would like the opportunity to make that choice. I unfortunately don't have the opportunity to be able to sit on the Board of Education. I work in the district. But for me, this is something where I joined the PTA. I want to be involved because I want to be involved in my child's education just as much as I'm sure you want to be involved in your child's education. That's why you're here. I think it's really important that we're focused less on our opinion on it, because I notice that there's a lot of just focusing on our own opinions on it per se, instead of focusing on the fact that you are making a decision for the entire public. And I think it's really critical right now to focus on the fact that we need to be speaking for everybody and not just for myself. When I think about myself as an educator, I'm thinking about the betterment of all the children in my classroom. I'm thinking about 23 students. I'm not thinking about what's the benefit for me in all of this. I'm thinking about how can my students be set up for success. And I'm asking you that you think about the public right now and think about how you can set them up for success. Allow them to look at the question, allow them to make that vote, because in all actuality, the board is going to be null and void at some point. You're not going to be the president forever. You're not going to be sitting on this board forever. So give the community the opportunity who's going to have 18 plus years of having their children in these districts. I believe that they have a right to make a decision on that. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public wishing to hear? Seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public notice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone else have any comments? We have our next scheduled meeting is February 10th at 6 p.m. a regular meeting. And we have one February 19th, I guess if we make that determination, have a full meeting on that 19th. That we discussed. Yeah, that's correct.
No, we keep the February work session regular. February 19th, about whether we want the work session in March or the March one.
I thought